It's time for another QBT, and today we're talking about this. Hello and welcome back to another Beaver Brew Day. Today we are talking about a sugar wash. Now today is my 5 tips for improving your sugar wash. Now these 5 tips are my 5 tips that I use, and that has allowed me to get my sugar washes to ferment out without having any stalls or having any issues with my sugar wash. So here we go. Tip number 1, use a yeast combo. And the yeast combo that I normally use is a distiller strain or a brew strain of yeast that will give me my high ABV and a low ABV fast fermenting yeast like a bread yeast. So today we are using a bread yeast or a baker's yeast, and we are using Bootlegger's Distiller's brandy yeast. Tip number 2, pre-hydrate your yeast. By rehydrating your yeast, what you are doing is you're getting that yeast colony all nice and established before you even add it into your wash. So the moment it hits your wash, it takes off like a rocket. Tip number 3, and this tip probably is the most important one of all 3 of them. If you do none of the other tips and you just do this one, you'll see a vast improvement in your sugar washes. And this is a tip that I learned from Bearded and Board. Link his video up one of these 2 sides here. And that is on inverting your sugars. So by inverting your sugars, you will be able to break the bond, and your yeast will have a field day at eating up all the sugars. Now for the secret ingredient in inverting your sugars. If you want to see more about inverting sugars, I'll link a video up one of these 2 sides so you can see exactly how to do it. Tip number 4. Remember, your sugar wash has almost no nutrients in it for your yeast to consume. If you want to learn more about how your yeast goes to work, I'll link a video up here somewhere which has a great explanation on aerobic and anaerobic production of yeast. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the different types of yeast we use when distilling, I'll link another video that I did up here on what you can expect out of your different types of yeast. So yeah, now for the nutrients. Whether you use tomato paste, DAP or pureed apple, it doesn't matter, as long as you add something into your wash for your yeast to consume. Generally, tomato paste washes are all the norm, and a lot of guys use it. You can even use your multivitamins that you buy in store, the cheap brand. Dunk it in there, a couple of tablets, and you will be a-okay. So yeah, tip number 4, use nutrients. Now if you're going to use tomato paste in your wash, make sure that you read on the packaging that it has no preservatives. Yes, you can overcome preservatives by just dunking a whole bunch of yeast in there, but at the end of the day, the purpose of this video is to speed up and make your sugar washes better. So yeah, just check on the side of the can or the little tube that there is no preservatives added. Citric acid is fine, but make sure there's no sodium sorbate or something like that, or potassium sorbate, sorry, potassium sorbate in there, because that will just kill off the yeast as fast as it can reproduce. Before we hit tip number 5, remember to hit that subscribe button at the bottom there if you like this kind of content, so you don't miss any of the videos that are coming up. Because if you want to see what this wash is for, then you're going to have to ring that bell so you get notified the moment that that video pops up. Time for tip number 5. Tip number 5 is aerate your wash. Whether you take your wash and you dump it from one bucket to another bucket, or you take a drill like I do and you mix the living crap out of it, incorporating as much oxygen into it as possible, or you end up using an air stone like I do here, remember just to sanitize it nicely. So get yourself some no rinse sanitizer, and what I normally do is just before I dunk my air stone into my wash, I put it into a bucket filled with that no rinse solution or any sanitizing solution, and give it a couple of minutes just to soak up some of that solution. Turn on the aerator and dry out the ball, so there is no ugly buggies from your previous wash sticking around in the ball. The aeration will create a nice and healthy environment for the yeast that we rehydrate earlier on, just to take off like a rocket. Yeah, this thing will be purring away in a matter of hours. Using the air stone as it is currently in the wash, we're going to leave it in there for 10 minutes. If you're going to use any other method like stirring or dumping from bucket to bucket, carry on until you get tired, and then do it for a couple of minutes more. Remember, the more oxygen you have in the wash, the faster your yeast will work. Those are the 5 tips that I have implemented into making my sugar washes, and they work for me, so I'm pretty sure they will help you as well. As always, thank you very much for sticking around to the end, and don't forget, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. It really does help the channel out a lot. As always, thank you very much for watching, and have a lucky day.